Howdy, folks. It's a lovely Saturday afternoon here. Um, this lecture on Huck Finn I'm giving from my humble abode here, and yeah, well, it's Saturday, so I'm dressing down. I hope that's okay. This shirt, this is Henry Thoreau. Simplify, which is a famous quote of his from Walden, and this is what people have been saying about the pandemic, and we have to quarantine and everything, is that we kind of have no choice but to simplify and try out what Thoreau was a virtue for Thoreau. So I think that's another silver lining in this cloud, which is we get to really find out what really matters, what we can do without, and what we ultimately really need. So that might be a theme running through the day today. Well, anyway, I thought we'd talk a little bit about Huck Finn. Yeah. Oh, and I just realized here, just a little show and tell. This is, as we're talking all about the Civil War, this is a Civil War saber. It was my great grandfather's, and he fought on the side of the North. I probably shouldn't be saying that too loud here in Texas, but yeah, Civil War saber, so this will be in the backdrop. Yeah, okay. Well, y'all did a nice job, I think, talking about Huck Finn and Romanticism, and we've been saying this has been a theme we've been going back to, the way realists, like the name suggests, we're trying to get us immersed in reality. For a writer like Huck Finn, or for Mark Twain, and then for Henry James and Rebecca Harding Davis, we need to get immersed in reality. We get our heads filled with all kinds of nonsense, and the sooner we can get acquainted with reality, the better. And a theme, this is something that you all were talking about in Huck Finn, a theme that comes up again and again and again in this book is about fraudulence. Twain was just shocked all through his career, the degree to which Americans fall for frauds. I mean, look at the King and the Duke. Look at the way religion operates. Look at slavery. Look at the mob mentality when you had, the one guy getting shot in the street, and all it took was one man with a gun to run them all off. There's a mob mentality. People are just all too happy, according to Twain, to listen to and believe frauds, liars, especially if those liars and con men have a way of reinforcing our own ignorance. We love having people reinforce our own ignorance and enforce the lies that we really want to believe. All you got to do, folks, is turn on the news today to know what I'm talking about, okay? So Twain was calling out Americans' propensity to gullibility in this book. And this from the beginning days of the United States of America, people, the founding fathers, recognized that with a democracy, we are prone to mob mentality. Not being able to truly think critically and think for ourselves, just going with the mob. And that is one of the risks of living in a democratic society. And this is precisely why the founding fathers said, for a republic to work, people have to be educated. People have to be able to use their brains. People have to think critically. People have to be able to recognize lies when they see them and to be able to stand up and say, no, that's not true. Even when those lies would benefit themselves. They need to be able to stand up and say no. This again is why Huck Finn, when he recognized that he was treating Jim badly, when he was taking advantage of the fact that he's white and Jim is black, and he had to be willing to let go of that lie that benefited him, that it meant something to be white and it meant something less than to be black. So democracy depends on being deeply acquainted with the truth, even when those truths on the surface aren't going to benefit us. Okay? So remember that, please. This is a fundamental and very important theme in Mark Twain. Okay, well, what we were talking about specifically in this specific discussion of Mark Twain is one specific manifestation of fraudulence, and that is romanticism. And Henry Thoreau here, of course, is a romantic, right? So, what am I doing here? Anyway, it was only certain kinds of romanticism that Twain really objected to. And this is what I'm going to get into here in my little talk. As I was saying online, there's a lot about Henry Thoreau that Twain really admired. And I think there's a lot of Henry Thoreau in Huckleberry Finn. But, the story is more complex, and this is what I'm going to be getting into. Okay, so, you see, Tom Sawyer, and a lot of y'all were commenting on this. Tom Sawyer being an embodiment of make-believe. And it's fine if make-believe is just child's play. We all did that when we were little, playing cops and robbers or whatever we did. If you look over on page 76, do kids still play cops and robbers? I don't know, we did. Cops and robbers. Good guys, bad guys. All right. Over on page 76 in this edition, and that is chapter 2, just at the very beginning, and when they're just a bunch of children playing make-believe. Some thought it would be a good idea to kill the families of boys that told the secrets. This is when Tom and Huck are putting their make-believe gang together. Tom said it was a good idea, so he took a pencil and wrote it in. Then Ben Rogers says, "Here's Huck. He ain't got no family. What are you going to do about him?" "Well, ain't he got a father?" said Tom Sawyer. "Yes, he's got a father, but you can't never find him these days. He used to lay drunk with the hogs in the tan yard, but he ain't been seen in these parts for a year or more." At once I thought of a way, and so I offered them Miss Watson. They could kill her. Everybody said, "Oh, she'll do. That's all right, Huck can come in." So that's funny. Huck says he can kill Miss Watson, and so the gang can work. Okay, so far so good. Make-believe is fun. And then over on page 78, next page over, this is at the end of chapter 2. So again, still children doing their make-believe. Little Tommy Barnes was asleep now, and then when they waked him up, he was scared and cried and said he wanted to go home to his ma and didn't want to be a robber anymore. So they all made fun of him and called him a crybaby, and that made him mad and said he would go straight and tell all the secrets. But Tom gave him 5 cents to keep quiet and said we would all go home and meet next week and rob somebody and kill some people. So, okay, children's make-believe, and it's fine. Okay, but this then is what the novel gets into. Twain is saying what happens when adults are playing make-believe, when adults are getting these silly ideas in their heads and are really and truly killing people, not just play acting, killing people, right? And there's a direct connection between this and the Grangerfords. okay? Twain is trying to say that the Grangerfords are adults playing make-believe. And when adults are playing make-believe, people are getting killed. All right, let me explain to you what I mean. Look over on page 167. It's going to be well into the novel here, of course. And this is chapter 17. Oh, no, sorry, very beginning of chapter 18, my fault. Beginning of that chapter. Okay, Colonel Grangerford was a gentleman, you see. He was a gentleman all over, and so was his family. He was well born, as the saying is, and that's worth as much in a man as it is in a horse, so the widow Douglas said. And nobody ever denied that she was of the first aristocracy in our town. And Pap always said it too, though he weren't no more quality than a mudcat himself. Colonel Grangerford was very tall, very slim, had a darkish, paly complexion, not a sign of red in it anywheres. That's a little racial slur there. In other words, he's not Native American, so he's a pure white man. He was clean shaven every morning, all over his face. He had the thinnest kind of lips and the thinnest kind of nostrils and a high nose and heavy eyebrows and the blackest kind of eyes, sunk so deep back that they seemed like they was looking out of caverns at you, as you may say. His forehead was high, okay, as we know. Good high foreheads always mean nobility and intelligence, okay? That's on the exam. High foreheads, right? Ken's with me on this. Sorry, Ken. Good high foreheads always mean intelligence and nobility. Okay. Yeah, all right. And then, okay. Okay, so far so good. However, what's going on here is that, when we get to know the Grangerfords, we find out that they're, just the classic Southern plantation. This is all taking place in Missouri. Missouri was a slave state. And so here they were in their big, plantation house, the big house, and there are slaves around, and they're very well off and all that sort of stuff. But what people especially would have known in the 19th century is that these big southern families in their plantation houses, they loved England. They're real Anglophiles. They like to say, yeah, we're in the pattern of those old English homes with their lords and ladies and their lands full of serfs and all that sort of stuff. And we're all just one great big, happy, honorable family. And so there's a lot of British romanticism in that kind of conceit. And so you see where Mark Twain's criticism is coming in. He's saying, what are you talking about? You're not English gentility and royalty. This is United States of America. Stop playing these games. And a lot of these Southern romances or English romances playing up the nobility of the aristocracy, the Southerners ate that stuff up. Sir Walter Scott was one of the big ones. He wrote novels like Ivanhoe and Rob Roy and other, the Waverly novels, all that kind of stuff. And they're all about these old stories of, these great aristocratic families and their dramas and everything and all that sort of stuff. Well, the Southerners love that stuff. They said, see, that's just like us. So you see what I'm getting at with this? Mark Twain is saying, y'all are filling your heads with this romantic nonsense, and it's leading to violence. because this is, of course, what these old English aristocratic families did. They fought each other. And so you see with the Grangerfords and the Shepherdsons, that feud that they had, that was basically Twain saying, right? When adults are playing cops and robbers make-believe, right? Oh, I'm a great English lord, right? When you're just a farmer, right? Oh, I'm a great English lord. You insult my family, and it's game on. You know, it's time to fight. Yeah, I got to get my saber here. It's, you know, it's time to fight, right? And so that's, and Twain was saying that's crazy. That's crazy. Get rid of that make-believe, and maybe some lives won't have to be lost. And so, yeah, so in sum, what Twain is criticizing here with that Grangerford and Shepherdson episode is that, you know, he's calling out the stupid pretensions of Southern aristocracy, contorted sense of honor and macho behavior, worn out codes of chivalry, which are typical of the Romantic tradition. No, you're not knights in shining armor. You know, you're a farmer. And furthermore, you're kind of a bad person because you're owning a bunch of slaves and you're treating them horrifically. You're not a chivalrous knight in shining armor. And the reason you're getting those dumb ideas is because you're reading a lot of stupid old books that are telling you that it's okay. So again, Twain is a realist. Stop believing lies. Okay. Okay. So if you look over on page 169, you know, all towards the beginning here, you see how this make-believe is leading towards violence, even at the beginning. This is just a few pages in, chapter 18. Huck and Buck, yeah, rhymes, are out playing. Yeah, so we're getting introduced to the Shepherdsons here. There is another clan of aristocracy. What are you talking about, aristocracy? Didn't we fight a war to get rid of, the Revolutionary War to get rid of aristocracy? And here are these people who can't let that crap go. Twain is saying this is an example of people who are living in romantic make-believe time. It's time to stop believing little fairy tales. And if you don't, people are gonna get killed just like they did in the Civil War. Yeah, because this is where it's all going. It's because of these Southern notions of aristocracy. That's what helped lead to the Civil War. And, you know, 600,000 people, North and South, died in that war. Twain is saying people believing lies led to that nonsense. It never should have happened. Get into reality, people won't have to die. Okay, so here's where you see childish, you know, child game playing. You extrapolate it out, it's going to lead to death. 169. There is another clan of aristocracy around there, 5 or 6 families, most of the name of Shepherdson. They were as high-toned and well-born and rich and grand as the tribe of Grangerfords. One day, Buck and me was out in the woods hunting and heard a horse coming. We was crossing the road. Buck says, "Quick, jump for the woods." We done it, and then peeped down the woods through the leaves. Pretty soon, a splendid young man come galloping down the road, setting his horse easy and looking like a soldier. He had his gun across his pommel. I'd seen him before. It was young Harney Shepherdson. I heard Buck's gun go off in my ear and Harney's hat tumbled off his head. Twice I seen Harney cover Buck with his gun, then he rode away the way he came to get his hat, I reckon, but I couldn't see. And then, you know, skipping down over to 170. And now we're going to learn about the feud. Did you want to kill him, Buck? Well, I bet I did. What did he do to you? Him? He never done nothing to me. Well, then what'd you want to kill him for? Why, nothing. Only it's on account of the feud, right? Again, you know, family pride and honor. You insult my family, well then, you know, like the knights and lords of old, you insult my family, well then it means war. Skip down a few lines. What was the trouble about, Buck? Land? So Huck's trying to find out why this thing even started. I reckon maybe, I don't know. Well, who done the shooting? Was it a Grangerford or a Shepherdson? Laws, how do I know? It was so long ago. See? Buck doesn't even remember, but they're doing this stuff anyway. So this notion of, you know, Southern pride and honor, and I'm gonna defend my honor, you know, down to the last drop of blood. You know, that kind of stuff. Twain is saying that's nonsense. That's nonsense. You've gotten your heads filled with all that romantic nonsense specifically, and it stopped being child's play. And it's leading to murder and death. So basically that's what you've got with the Grangerfords and the Shepherdsons. On the surface, they're all gentlemanly and aristocratic, good looking, you know, smart, right? Everything else. But in their core, they're murderers. They are cold-blooded murderers, both of them, both families. And it's all because of that nonsense they filled their heads with, okay? And so you see this, it has a terrible, it's one of the most poignant moments in the book. If you look over on page 175, this is the end of this section about the Grangerfords. So as you pointed out, Harney, and then I'm forgetting the name of the young Grangerford woman, and they ran off together. It's like something right out of Romeo and Juliet. Talk about romance, right? Yeah, so this Romeo and Juliet kind of thing, and then you have this, yeah, so that's romanticism there again. Yeah, if you want to elope, go elope. Do I have to kill someone over that, right? Okay, and then so here you see the ending over it. Very bottom of 175, this is towards the end of chapter 18. The boys jumped for the river, both of them hurt, and as they swam down the current, the men run along the bank, shooting at them and singing out, "Kill them, kill them." This is his young friend, Buck, that's being murdered while he's swimming helplessly out in the river. It made me so sick, I most fell out of the tree. I ain't going to tell all that happened. It would make me sick again if I was to do that. I wish I hadn't ever come ashore that night to see such things. I ain't ever going to get shut of them. Lots of times I dream about them. So this isn't fun make-believe. Let's pretend going and getting killed. A sweet, innocent young boy got killed over nothing because of stupid, romantic, aristocratic Southern pretensions to honor and chivalry. So this is Twain here, folks. Get into reality. Wake up and smell the coffee, all right? Yeah, okay. All right, well, yeah, this is the end of part one, and yeah, stay tuned for part two.